YouTube. I'm going to try and move this. Okay, that's fine. And to be born already. How's it going? I'm going to start off with a really bad idea of playing reggae for a couple of minutes. Wrong drum beat. Again, kind of. See what happens. Yeah, it starts on the offbeat, that didn't work. Hey, Bartek! Hey, Craig! From, I was almost in Pasadena again. Pennsylvania. Yeah, I'm enjoying this guitar. It sounded pretty good when I got it, but it's like now I've put new strings on it and just basically cleaned it. What a difference that makes. Well, how's it going, everyone? That's now time I can start drinking. Yay! So, yeah. So this is the guitar I opened the box for yesterday. It was great fun. Yeah, hold on. Hey, Chef. 2 hours till bath time. Rocking. I'll be finished. Just keep an eye on the bucky meter. Generally, by about here, I start thinking, I'm a bit too drunk to be on live streaming. So that's kind of. I still need to find somewhere. Yeah, I've got a shelf there. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm loving this thing. Got a wee bit of what's in the bag. Seeing as I did that video the other day, I thought if I put what's in the bag, I bet you get lots of watches, and I did. So another what's in the bag, but these aren't new. These are just ones that I've dug out because I've not really compared them to this, but this kind of is the sort of same. I've managed to justify them being different enough though, even though I think shape-wise they're very similar. So in many ways, I guess what's in these two, that's maybe a wee play-along game and you could win nothing. Yeah. It's quite nice about it. Let's have a second sip. Yeah, so actually a couple of folk left me quite a question or two the other day. David said, look at the Badger, and it's like just before it's smooth, which I don't understand. But yeah, so we'll play that later on. And I was also asked what was my favourite to play guitar. It depends. To be honest, it's this one right now because this is the new one, and that kind of goes for almost all of it. It's like, what's the newest one? You know, what's the flavour of the month, whatever. Kind of. I'm not attached to it enough. It can't be my favourite guitar yet. Maybe in the future. Maybe even favourite. And this thing is the favourite to play. This things I'm at the stage now. I've got so many. Hold on. I've got so many that it's like I kind of have to rotate them. Like that's why I've been trying to rotate them on the walls, just so that I remember to play them, because I've got so many that I haven't given enough time to. Basically, it's kind of one of the reasons I'm doing all these videos. It's an excuse to play the guitar for half an hour or whatever, and actually just deal with it. And also, what keeps happening with all my guitars as well is quite a lot of them I've had for maybe 5 years. I really started going mad for guitars about 5 years ago. There's a few that are older than that, but now I'm much better at fixing them up and adjusting them and setting them up than I was 5 years ago. I could sort of do it all right back then, but now I keep getting them in, and it's like, just a wee bit of adjustment of the truss rod, a wee bit of intonation, just kind of sorting out any wee niggles that I'd maybe missed before. It's like it's got a slightly wobbly jack, or it's got a dodgy pot. It's like I'll just live with it, and it's like so I'm going through them, and they're all getting upgraded as they go. And also I'm stealing pickups out of them. So that if you could only have one of your guitars, which would it be? It's got to be the one that was on the wall, but isn't anymore. The double neck Ibanez Destroyer, I think, because it's a bass and a guitar. So that's kind of cheating, really. But if you're talking about what's an electric guitar, because it would be an electric guitar, it wouldn't be an acoustic guitar, unless it was on a desert island and didn't have an amp, then it might be an acoustic. But don't know. I generally tend to go for the Washburn 8-string bass, but it's a bass, it's not a guitar. I don't know. The one I would most enjoy playing. It's possibly one of the ones in this bag, which is one of those. It's a strange one. I've got a few guitars that kind of stick out as, I thought they were going to be good, obviously, because I bought them, but they're just that wee bit special. It's just like it's got a wee something that's just, I really like this one. My West Tone Concord is like that. I bought the West Tone Concord. I bought a bass off a guy in, I think it was Stirling. And on the way out his house, I noticed in the corner of his living room there was a wee red smashed up West Tone Concord. I was like, that's that another electric guitar you got sitting there. And his wife said, yeah, we're going to take it to the car boot sale. And I was like, all right. Do you want 20 quid for it? She's like, oh yeah. So it was quite sneaky the way I talked to the guy's wife. Even though she was just sitting in the living room. She's like, that's brilliant, yeah, 20 quid. Whoa, look, John, we got 20 quid for it. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. And I got a West Tone Concord. It had been dropped and it splits. In fact, this one's actually, my pal Ronnie was up last night and he kept mentioning it's like, she's got a split all the way down there. And I think there's some in the back as well. Not much. I'm not really sure what these are. I think one of the ones in that the bags there is a bit like that. It's kind of, I read the specs on this, it's solid ash. So it's maybe a split in the wood, but the wood is like maybe 2 bits of wood. And it's like kind of sunk. The finish is sunk into the gap in the middle. One of them is expanded, and because it's coated in the super Japanese poly finish, the finish hasn't expanded. It's stayed like it's like an M&M or a Smartie. Wing series. Well, the Wing series are the most show-offy guitars I've got. The other ones, I like to have one hanging on the wall. Actually, I missed an opportunity earlier on today to have one hanging on the wall because there was someone around was going to fix a Telecaster and couldn't find anything wrong with it. Always it's nice to have the Falcon sitting there so I can go, what about one of these? It's like the pure, whoa, really is the most showy offy of guitars. It's they are quite heavy and a bit less poly, and I think I'm a bit more stratty though. If I had to choose, I would have I think maybe I prefer the slightly longer scale length because maybe I'm a bass player. I don't know. That's what it kind of comes in was, if you had to choose, is this a Gibson or a Fender? It's sort of, it's like all PRSs. It's sort of in the middle somewhere. So it's like it's got the Fender scale length, and it's got a Strat tremolo on it. So that Fender, and it does have humbuckers, but it's got a coil split, so it's kind of like a sort of Geosonic-y type thing. So there's Fender sounds in it, but at the same point, it's got humbuckers and like a flat neck and a 3-side headstock, which makes it Gibson-y, so it's something in the middle. Yeah, there's actually another guitar I was going to talk about my favourite one's Lena, one of the few guitars I've got that's got a name. The Falcon's got a name. It's called Nico because it pure stank of smoke, and it was really stinking of smoke when I got it, and I smoke. So I mean, I could be literally sitting. My room in the last house was much longer than this, but I'd be sitting 4, 5, 6 meters away from this thing, smoking a fag, and I could smell the Falcon. I don't know where it was beforehand. Actually, I bought the eagle off the same guy a year later, and it didn't smell. So I don't know. So I got called Nico, and the eagle that I got, the white one, I called it Nancy because Nancy Wilson of Heart plays one, and that was it. I did call the third sister. I got the Hawk, which is a sort of cheaper. There's a 3-piece neck through instead of a 5-piece neck through. It doesn't have collar splits and a fancy top and a bit less binding, but it's 90% the same guitar. I did give it a name, but I can't remember what it is. I need to talk to my pal in Denmark because it was him that got it for me. The guy who runs the Doin's online Facebook page. If you ever never heard of Doin guitars, have a look at them. Pontiac, have a look up Doin guitars. You might be able to get them. They don't come about in the UK very often at all. When they do, they're really expensive. I think their main distributor was in Canada, and there was like one in Europe somewhere, like in Brussels or something. So and they just never really came over here. Yeah, I thought I finished with the joints are possibly. I think it's maybe just an age-related thing. I don't know because it's not. I think, or maybe I'm not worried about it. it's like, I mean, if you got that on a custom shop, it would be, that'd be an expensive feature. What are those? Someone talked to me earlier on today about those the new Gibson Les Pauls, and was it Matt Murphy or some guy like that, special edition wear ones, and it's like they're $5,000 or something for like it was a $2,500 guitar with 2.5 grand's worth of thing. You kind of almost want for that $2,500 that you're paying to get it looking aged, you'd want them to age it by going and playing gigs every night for 2 months. Do you know what I mean? It's like actually employ bands to relic guitars to make them look old. So it's actual real damage. Just gets that's a good idea. I'm going to set this up. Maybe when I start my Mad Malco guitar company, I'll do that. I'll actually give people guitars you've got a tour coming up. Take this guitar and then I want it back at the end sort of thing, and I'll sell it as a road worn. Just get people. You can just be a little bit clumsy with it. Don't snap it. You've still got to use it, but it doesn't matter if you scrape it. Yeah, band worn, real so it's like it's relic. So it's artificial in the sense of someone was a little bit tough with it, but it's not somebody sitting there with a razor blade making it look like it's cracked when it isn't cracked. Yeah. I've got these jokes up there. Yes, in the USA, yeah, Canada's not. I know Canada's not quite in the USA, but you might find that there's Americans there as well. But there's a Doin. The problem with Doin is Doin's a company, the guitar company. Doin is a guitar brand that came out from the Yamaki factory. Yamaki started doing the Washburn guitars, and they were very popular. And then they branched out and made their own ones, which were at even higher end. So there is kind of one higher than an Eagle. So you get like the Hawk, which is the 3-piece neck through. It's just ash. It doesn't have a cap on it. Doesn't have coil splits. And then you go up to the Falcon, which has now got a rosewood cap or a maple cap, a 5-piece neck through and coil splits. And then you go up to the Eagle, which has got the cap, 5-piece neck through, and it's got metal knobs and lots of binding. If you go up to, there's a range in Doin. They only made it for like 2 years. And there's one higher than that. There's one you can get this like transparent green, and it's got a 7-piece neck through and the same pickup, same bridge. It's ultimately the same guitar, just a bit fancier. The only problem with the Doin ones is the Doin ones aren't symmetrical. So it's like the whole guitar is the same, apart from this bit, which kind of is more this shape, and that's where the pickup selector is. But the rest of the guitar, if you just covered up that bit, and then drew on a pickup selector, you covered up that, you just go, wow, I've never seen that Washburn one before. But because it's not symmetrical, they kind of look a bit funny. But made at the same time, at the same people. And if you can find one of them, I think they're called an XX. Canadian guitars. Yamaki, yes, if you can get Yamaki's, they're so rare over here. We're actually not too bad for. Is it Celeness Company? I don't know what Celeness Company is. If that's is that a word I know that? Is it Cecien doesn't make any. I don't recognise that either. I don't know if these are spelling mistakes or whether these are just things I've never heard of. I don't know. Are all the well? It depends which old Japanese guitars I think it is you're looking for. West Tone Thunders, people have started finding out about them, so they're worth more than they were. When I started looking, we're talking 5 and 10 years ago that I kind of started up doing the YouTube stuff. And even back then, the Washburn Falcon and stuff, I can't really say how much I paid for that because it's ridiculous. I just bought it off eBay. It wasn't and it wasn't one of those ones that's, I buy it now at a stupid low price. It was an auction and I ended up getting it. And that was maybe 5-6 years ago. And they've basically doubled in price at least since then. But there's still more out there. I've also noticed West Tone Spectrums, which when I was learning to play the guitar were crap. That's what everyone said they were. And so you could pick them up for all the time. They were 60, 80 quid. You used to see them before eBay. You used to get like a yellow paper called Supermark, which was kind of like a sort of buy and sell paper, and they were always in there. 60 to 80 quid, 80 quid for one for in good condition, and 60 quid for one that was a bit beat up type thing. And now they're a couple of $100 all the time. So the people have kind of cottoned on to them. Where the bargains can still be had is with silly ones like this, because this is a Laser Heritage, which was only made for 1 year, and nobody knows what it is. It's also, what is it? Describe it. There's a challenge for you. How you describe it? You'd say like, oh, how would you describe that? You go, it's a sort of P bass. It's like, that's a sort of a small-bodied reverse jazz master. This is just kind of, I don't even know where to start. I would kind of describe it. Is it a Strat? It's not a Strat, is it? I don't know. You're crazy, Celine Dion. Very good. I'm not drinking enough bucket to start getting jokes. Yes. I keep getting into trouble from the guys on the Daon page. It's Dion. It's like Daon. Kids, these Japanese I had that late. 81 Vantage bass. Sold it in 1982. Just bought an 1982 Vantage bass. And remember the Japanese stuff in the early 80s. Now they're expensive. Yeah, it's a guitar prices have gone funny. Strat type with PRS headstock. I can see why you're saying PRS headstock, because PRS obviously invented the idea of, you want the strings to be, these two tuners to be closer together than these two, so you don't get that splay from the headstock. And it's like, obviously they invented that before Aria Pro did it. They didn't. Yeah. So maybe the PRS is a kind of cop out, because that's just kind of, PRS is just basically anything that's something between a Strat and a Les Paul. It's like, it's PRS shit, but kind of everything's in between those two. Strat SG. Strat. A Sean Connery Strat. Like that. I thought the Arias were expensive now. I take it's Arias. Yeah. In the early 80s vintage Fender Gibson were cheap. We didn't need the drafty stuff. It depends where you were, I think. But I think if you go back to like 1980, or I'm talking my favourite run of guitars, and most of mine are from sort of 80 to, I seem to be going a wee bit more 85. I've normally said 80 to 84, but 85 seems to be coming into the picture a little bit now. You get those guitars were actually better than the equivalent Gibsons you could buy new, or Fenders you could buy new at the time. Not if you could get like obviously a 50s or a 60s one, different ball game. They're going to maybe have a good fight with these, but once you start getting to the sort of 70s with Fender and Gibson, it's like the guitars weren't as good as these. They're obviously now one of those guitars you could have bought this for a couple $100, $300, something like that, maybe in 1985. And at that time, it was maybe $400, $500 for a Les Paul. I was wasn't about. Well, I was about, but I was 6. I've completely gone off my topic. Aye, but even at that time, you could have bought the Washburn Falcon, which is a better guitar than the Gibson Les Paul of 1980. It's better guitar than the Les Paul now, but in 1980, and it was like you're buying the Washburn Falcon, it's maybe slightly cheaper than the Les Paul, but it's a better guitar. And the thing is now, it's a miles better guitar than the 1980 Gibson Les Paul, but the Gibson Les Paul's worth $3,000, and they've not cottoned on to the Eagles and stuff. I mean, they've gone up in price. I saw one for £1,000 in a shop, and it sold when I went in a couple of weeks later. So they're going for that amount. Yeah, somebody mentioned Vantage. There might be a way, if you're guessing what's in the bags, you might be with that. But you're in America. That's another thing. You're in America, so you're buying. There's no miles on your guitars, whereas I think over here it was pure insane amounts of money if you wanted a Gibson or a Fender back then. I know that something stupid like Hank Marvin or Cliff Richard, when he bought Hank Marvin's Strat, paid $2,500 for it in 1961 money, whatever that is. You know, it's like a hell of a lot. Oh, it's got lots of questions. Hold on, I'm closing down now. I've now got to try and find the cursor so I can scroll that up a wee bit. It's a big, like me find. Hold on, here we go. Strat SG, Strat. I thought Arias were expensive now. I assume that's meant to be Arias. Arias have gone up a little bit now, but they are the one that's now cheaper. I paid £45 for that bass, and it's awesome. It's better than anything you could buy for £500 without any doubt new. This is the one that actually matches this. The Laser Classic Active, faultless. It was covered in stickers and it was minging, and it had to. I can't remember what I had to do to it. Was the fretboard coming off? Was something like that, but it's like I fixed it and I fixed it well, so you can't tell what it was that I'd done. There was something like the fretboard was coming off and I had to glue it back down and clamp it. But the guy that I got this from didn't play the guitar. He just found it at the tip when he was taking rubbish out of his house. And there was a guitar as well, but it was dirty. I was like, I wonder what kind of guitar it was that was sitting next to it. So he just basically picked a number out his head, stuck it in Gumtree, £45, and then that was it. So it was like 3 minutes old. Where are you? Hoggenfield. Right, I'll be there in 20 minutes. See you. And then by the time I got there, I was like, up here. Well, I had quite a lot of messages about this. 48 messages in the 20 minutes it took me to get there. It's like, is it worth tons of money? And I was like, it's not worth tons of money. The thing is, it does look like Cliff Burton from Metallica's one. It's got the same headstock. His is it's in the same page of the catalogue. It's just as a different model. It's worth, I don't know, a couple hundred quid, something like that. Actually, I saw one went for sale recently. I think it was $250 it went for. And that, you're talking about getting them cheap. $250 is cheap for that. You're talking about that. You're £250. You're looking at a Squire P bass. It's an Fender one. That's in that. I would think about buy it now. This, I paid 100. I can tell you how much this cost. I'm not going to sell it. £156. And it's like, it's got the 3-piece neck and modelling and stuff on it, and it's got the big block trem. It's got that Ibanez pickup in it, which is probably worth almost what I paid for the guitar. And there was nothing wrong with it. I mean, literally, if you didn't know anything about guitars, you would have been totally locked out with this. All you needed to do was take it off, wipe the dust off it. You know, there was dust behind the strings, and then put strings on it and ready to go. I've done virtually nothing to it. I did order a trem bar. I forget the factories to look out for. Mata, it's Matsumoku is the one you're thinking of. Lots of things are advertised as Matsumoku that aren't. Arias, up to a certain point, kind of all are. If you're looking for like an old 70s copy of like a Les Paul or a Strat or something, because the Japanese factories kind of made copies up until about 1978. That's when the Hawk came out and the Aria PE and all that. They started, and the Ibanez artists, they started making their own designs because they could get more money for them. But they say steel adjustable neck on them. Behind the rusty bit that you can't read, it says Aria Pro steel adjustable neck. So It doesn't. This one says accurate bolt-on system. So either accurate bolt-on system or steel adjustable neck for the older ones. And it always say made in Japan. If it doesn't say made in Japan on the back of your area, it's not a made in Japan one, it's a Korean one, which are still decent guitars. But the difference is they kind of go for the same amount of money as the Japanese ones. I had one called a Mega Metal, which was a very similar idea to this, where it was kind of like a end of run thing, where they decided what they were going to do was rather than create new models for 1980, I think it was 1987, they just used old models and then put a Floyd Rose in it and painted it black and called it a Mega Metal type thing. I mean, I sold that for 300 quid. And if you look on eBay, you see the Cat go all the time for 300 quid. And the Cat is basically exactly the same guitar, but made in Korea. And the Japanese one, it's like going from a Squire to a Fender American type thing. I mean, they're all right. Squires are all right, and the Korean ones are fine. They're good compared to a modern guitar, but they're not good compared to these, which are total top of the line. Yeah, Matsumoto. A lot of the West Tones, all the companies basically stopped making guitars in Japan in about 1987, 88, apart from Jackson but Area Pro, Washburn, and many others. Vantage all moved to Korea because they could just make them so much cheaper, but they did pure ramp down the quality like mad. Vintage stuff, Fender, Gibson 50s, 60s. But that's, again, sorry, I'm going to skip through these until I get a good one. Sorry, they're all good. Yeah, but the thing is, as I've strayed from the point quite severely, you're getting them in America because you're American. So when we got the American ones, they were always much more expensive. God, a question? I'm not God. Happy Easter, by the way. I have a Les Paul Studio. Just bought some iron gear pickups. 50 quid eBay. Have a Honda 2 I'm going to do up. Which would you put the pickups in? If you've got a Les Paul Studio, it might have the same pickups that are in that. Depends on what year it is. I can't remember. There's a 398s or something they're called. I really like those pickups. I would put them in the, did you say iron gear? I'd put them in the Hondo. I'm trying to see which Hondo it is you've got, because the Hondos are, I don't know if you think it's Japanese or you've been told it's Japanese. There aren't very many Japanese Hondos, and there isn't a Les Paul. They didn't do a Les Paul in Japan. They did do a sort of like a Les Paul Junior, and they did a double cut Les Paul Junior, but they never did. If you've got like the, like the binding and stuff, it's not a Japanese one. And it's annoying though, because the actual Japanese ones said made in Japan on a sticker, and the sticker hasn't survived most of the time. I have seen one, my pal's got exactly the same base as mine, it's still got the made in Japan sticker, but nowadays a made in Japan sticker is like a badge of honor. It's like, oh look, it's got a made in Japan sticker on it. Back then it wasn't. The Japan was just like, rubbish, because there were plenty of rubbish stuff coming out. Just picked up an Ibanez S-Series copy. Goes with my Iceman copy. Copy and guitar. Ibanez guitars, who would have thought? Well, there you go. S-Series. There's a lot of guitars that are very similar to an S-Series. I've got that Yamaha, the lightweight spaceship Yamaha I've got is very similar to an S-Series. And the Iceman's fantastic. Iceman's was Ibanez's first ever original design for a guitar. Apparently, I read it wasn't called an Iceman to start with. The Iceman came later on. I don't know who it was that called it that. It's just called an IC3 or something like that it was called. And I nearly bought one, and I didn't have enough money at the time. It went for 300 quid. It was metallic blue, 1981, I think. And it was an Ibanez, not an Iceman. It was an IC, whatever it was. And it looked absolutely fantastic, and it never sold on eBay, and the guy never relisted it because obviously he was expected to go for more than that. I should have bought that. I didn't. Let's catch up here. East End was in a band, and Sharon was in the singer who played Venus at the Pro. Marlon State, the series, I had one of them not that long ago. H732 Lux. I thought Korea. Yes, H732 is the Les Paul. That's Korean. Well worth doing up. That's a later on one. I saw somebody on the Hondo Facebook page. I kind of felt sorry for him. He was like, I got this on Hondo Les Paul, and he was going to do it up, and he had the early Hondo, because Hondo were awful, and they were sort of thinking, why are they awful? And then they contracted a couple of Matsumoku, and I don't know what the other factory was. I think it was Tokai, to make them runs of guitars, and then went in and copied how they did it. So after 1981 or something like that, Honda were suddenly really good, or Samick, the company, is suddenly really good, and then Samick, obviously, by the time you get to, they were making Epiphones and stuff. Apparently, Samick made, I think it's a third of all the electric guitars made in the 90s in the world were made by Samick. It's something insane, and they had like 500 different guitar models they'd made in the decade. They're insane. But also you did get, if it was an H732D at DiMarzio pickups, but they're pretty rare, and everyone always says they had it. Yeah, there's some famous pop playing Aria Pro. The expensive Aria Pro is the SB bass, the SB 1000. It's kind of got the same kudos that a Yamaha SG has. Because they were famous, you never find Yamaha SGs cheap, or especially not the ones that are kind of, you know, the binding and the fancy maple top. You don't get them cheap ever, because they were always famous. And it's the same with the Aria SB. Partly, I think, because of the guy in Duran Duran. I should know his name, but they look amazing. They've got the fretboard, the string spacing at the nut is identical to the string spacing at the bridge, so the neck is, all the strings run parallel, which I've never actually played one, but I mean, I can see how that would be good, because it means that when you're playing it here, it's exactly the same as when you're playing it here. Maybe, don't know. Late 70s, early 80s, Aria was well respected in high-end guitar. I think so. I mean, lots of, there's Andy Summers at the Police played one, but he also played a Washburn Falcon. In one video, I think there was a wee bit of, I don't think you get the same brand contract thing that you get now. I mean, when I was at Download Festival, not last year, the year before, when we were allowed to go to these things, it was every single band had LTD guitars, pretty much. So I think they had some sort of deal going on, obviously trying to get all the up-and-coming bands. It was LTD all over the place. I think back then it was kind of a bit more of a rep would sort of turn up and back up to the rehearsals and like, do you want a Washburn Falcon? As long as you use it for something, you're on top of the pops tonight. You can have this guitar if you use it on top of the pops. It was kind of more that, rather than like here, sign this contract we'll give you 10 grand a year, provided you use it. I remember seeing I think it was one of the guys in Motley Crue or something like that, and it was like a contract thing with BC Rich or Jackson or one of these things, and it's like in their contract they had to use the BC Rich or Jackson, whatever it was, for 2/3 of what they were playing on at every gig, and in all organised photo shoots. You know, it was like one of these. It was a proper contract thing. I just don't think that was the case in the early 80s, when it was it was like, here, you're on top of the pops, you'd want this guitar, you can have it if you use it tonight. Maybe not quite as bad as that. Yeah. I wasn't about the late 70s. I was born in the late 70s, so I don't know much about it. Aria are still going. You can still buy, I've got an Aria PE prototype series. It's like but it said in the prototype series in 78 or 79, we've designed this ultimate guitar. The guy who does Atlancia guitars just now, H. Noble, designed this guitar. It's got a fancy neck join, a strange bridge, and it's again somewhere between a Les Paul and a Strat. Kind of looks like a Les Paul, but it's got like a Strat scale and stuff, and it's like pure prototype. This is the way we're always going to make guitars. And to be fair to the words, right now you can still buy an Aria PE guitar. They still make it. It's kind of sort of looks a bit like a Les Paul. They still make it. They've altered it. Obviously, it's evolved over the years. But my pal's actually an Aria dealer. He's got like a shop that he opens up 2 days a week down in Colville, Guitar Karma. Go and check it out if you're anywhere near Leicester. I can say Leicester, but I can't spell it. Every time I spell it, I'm talking to him, I'm just like, L-I-E-L-E-I-L, whatever it is. Yep, and by misspelling Leicester, I've forgotten what it was I was talking about. Nah, gone. My Les Paul serial number 033 put up here, November 2006. Cool. I don't know. I slag off Les Pauls all the time. I need to get one so I can slag them off properly though. Oh, I think I might be a bit behind on the. There you go. LEIC. I think I might have spelled it. I just didn't look right. I'll just abbreviate it to LEICS. It's like, oh, that's the bit I can't spell. I can spell the second half of it. Red Pontiac. Well, older and probably wiser. I'm not a Les Paul fan. I slag them off all the time, but it's just really the price, and I'm too stingy to pay £1,000, £2,000 for a guitar. They've got their points, they've got their fans. I've never really liked the looks of Les Pauls, which kind of goes against it to start with. But I really feel I should get one. I'm doing a trade series just now, and at some point I'm going to have to try and get a Les Paul. That was the plan with the last trade series, but I ended up getting a Fender Strat instead and another guitar. So it was like, I didn't want to sell. I was like, get a guitar. I was like, I could trade it up, but I kind of want it. So maybe I'll end up with one. I've had iron gear before. Iron gear are good. Iron gear sit for me very much with Warman, Wilkinson, Vanson. Well, it's kind of a bit dishonest because they don't design pickups as such. They just copy different Seymour Duncans and DiMarzios pretty much. Because I mean, all a pickup is a magnet with a wire wrapped around it. So if you get the same kind of magnet and the same kind of wire and wrap it around it the same amount of times, you just end up with what is 99% the same as a DiMarzio Super Distortion or a whatever it is they're copying. It's not difficult to solder. The trick you got to remember with soldering is you tin the things that you're using. So you get your soldering iron and make sure it's at full heat. And the wire you're going to attach, you put solder onto the wire, and then you put solder onto the pot, and then you put the wire into the pot and join them with the soldering iron. That's really, if you can do that. But it's almost one of those things, if you're going to replace the pots might not be very good in that Hondo, if that's a Hondo you're talking about. Generally, the Korean, that's one of the letdowns with the Samick era. The necks, fantastic. The bodies, although the cheaper ones were plywood, that's still all right, but it's not worth as much money because it's plywood and it's got a stigma to it. But the pots were sometimes not very good, and you can pick up the pots you buy now from China for peanuts. Like I think you can buy a bag of 10 for about £3, maybe 30, 50 pence each, something like that. They are better than the pots you would get in any Korean guitar from the 80s or 90s. Or this the same, slightly better type thing. It might be worthwhile doing that. And if you do that, what we do is maybe take out the old pots and actually just spend half an hour. Your guitar, it's worth it. Spend half an hour joining bits of wire onto the backs of pots, like when you're out in the open and you've got tons of space, and then take them off and then do it half a dozen times. And by the time you've done 10 or 20 junctions, you'll be really good at it, and you'll get it first time when you try and do it, when you're trying to work within the confines of the back of the guitar. Should be worth doing. You'll find that probably the iron gear pickups will have more wires, but it's cool. The red and the white one, probably, they'll be two taped together. Just ignore them, they're for coil tapping. And there'll either be a shield with another wire joined to it and an output, or there'll be two wires and a shield, so one of them goes with the shield. Shouldn't be too bad. My 1980 Ari Pro FV550 had 3 Vs. Not sure if I know what the 5VV is. The thing is, Ari's got there's hundreds of chats. Oh God, I'm miles behind. I keep talking too much. I'm not sure what an FV550 is. But it's 1980. It might be like an actual Flying V, like a Gibson Flying V copy. Maybe. I've glued a neck and a bolt. Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of that before. Hey Billy, how's it going? Banded Billy, I deal with Aria. I don't doubt it. I went through a stage of watching Top of the Pops 2 did a rerun thing where they were doing like the top 10 in 1984 and all that. Just watching them and just seeing all the Yamaha SGs and Aria Pros and Washburns and stuff. It's great. Still got old Honda mid-70s Strat, like totally awful guitar, but too many ribs. You can make them play well. The necks on them are good. Assuming it's the H76 is the common one. It's a bit annoying because they've got a different size neck, so you can't put another neck on it, and you can't. The pickups are fatter and thinner than normal pickups, so you can't just drop in upgraded pickups. And the same with the bridge; it's got funny spacing. But I mean, they're not rubbish guitars. You can make them play well. Definitely worth it, especially if you can't get rid of it. So you might as well make it good. Electric guitars. We didn't get electric guitars. We get a brand called Westone. They're both made. Electra might not have always been owned by Matsumoku. They might have just contracted them, whereas Westone were Matsumoku's house brand, if you like. So they had like an R&D department making Westones. And at some point, although I've seen Electras at like Les Pauls and stuff like that, at some point they ended up looking exactly the same as Westones. And right down to the point there was actually a Westone Electra. In fact, I had a Dynasty, which was actually Westone and Electra on the headstock. And then there's a couple of models in the Spectrum. What we get as a Spectrum series, you get as something else. That's basically exactly the same guitar, apart from it says Phoenix on it, maybe, something like that. I've not had a guitar for over a year now. Chipson. Good luck. I mean, Chipsons, I can't. I bought some Chipsons, or didn't buy Chipsons, I bought Chenders in China, and they were fantastic. But I've seen some truly awful Chipsons. I've had really good ones as well. I had one that had like a blonde, like a maple cap on it, and the rest of it was cream, and it was fantastic guitar. It was better than an Epiphone. And then I've had other ones where you get it and it's like, oh, it looks like a Gibson. As soon as you start looking at it, every element was just like, it's like, can I pick the gold off the frets sort of thing? And it's like the tuners were kind of not, they kind of looked like they were made of, the chocolate coins you get. They were kind of like that. And it really wasn't a guitar. And so good luck. You might get a really good one. Just get yourself on Gumtree or Facebook Marketplace, pick up a Jim Deacon Strat or a Westfield or something like that for 20 or 30 quid to get you going. Try and catch up. Our stuff with the bass player, I didn't realise he was so good. Oh, that talking about Spandau Ballet. Oh, I've managed to zoom in on the screen. There we go. Anyway, Westfield are good. Indian Encores and Indian. I don't know about the Indian vintage LP copies, but I do actually have. It's not on the wall anymore. I painted one like Iron Brew Van Halen, and it was an Indian Encore. I think they're exactly the same guitar as the Indian Sun Mustangs. Got a thin. The neck pocket's a bit thinner. The string spacing's like 50mm instead of 54, which makes them a bit annoying. But apart from that, they're fantastic. I've decided I'm just going to keep that. Do you have to use an adjustable solder station? That's all you need. I do have one just now. The one I got off a guy on Gumtree for a tenner. But it's got like it's adjustable, but it's got like a digital clock, like the red LED that tells you when it's hot, which is worth it purely for plugging the solder and you can see it counting down, so you know it's on, as opposed to the other one I've got. You just like plug it in and then is it hot? And you're like kind of holding it up to your face and seeing if it's hot. It's not the way to do it. But you don't need an adjustable one. And 40 watts should easily be enough. You can do it at 25 watt. The other thing, if you ever try and take the covers off pickups, like if you get like a Les Paul that's got the metal covered pickups, they'll be soldered onto the base plate. The solder they use for that is a different type of solder, which you just can't melt. I think it might be plumbing solder or structural solder. So you really have to. It's a right pick to get the covers off pickups because they don't use the same solder on that as they do everywhere else. Electrics was St. Louis Music. Yes, I think you're right. I think they might have got, or maybe they just bought designs from Matsumoku. Yeah, I think so. But we just don't get very many Electras over here. But then again, I don't think you get very many Westones. I think they sort of sneaked out. The Westone were the sort of Matsumoku's home brand, but they were big. Petersburg, in fact, Billy, who's on here just now, was telling me before, Westones were all over the guitar magazines. They'd full page adverts every month of just the Westones because they were churning out these guitars at like I don't know, £199, and it was like a proper pro gigging guitar. Bit ugly, perhaps. Looks a bit like this actually. So maybe a bit basic, but solid pro guitar for £200, where at the time it was like £400-500 for an equivalent level Fender Strat or Telly. I think wasn't there. Red wine flying. You're sipping red wine, yeah. I actually had to stop drinking a little bit because my head was starting to spin a little bit. I was getting a wee bit kind of, ooh, am I gonna puke on Book Live? I'll do that one time. I haven't had my dinner yet, so that's my excuse. Can't beat that, and it's red wine, pretty much. I already had Monster. I didn't know you drank that. I just bought it because they don't have Rockstar anymore, but it's got a mad top on it. So like, have you seen that? It's like so you don't have to open the ring pull. You can reseal it as well. So, yeah, I don't like it. It reminds me of when I went in China. Hold on. I think that might be the end of the chat. So it's okay. So I'm not that far behind. Still wondering why the fourth bridge is red instead of black. Have I missed something with the fourth road being red instead of black? Maybe so that ships don't crash into it. I don't know. Black fourth. It's a joke. I'm not. I'm the bucky. I was going to ask about the pots. I did look at ready-made. There's not any point in buying them ready-made. That'd be just paying someone to connect two wires together. I turned off one of my pals from buying he was upgrading his Squire Telecaster. He was like, I'm going to buy this plate. And it was like, the metal control plate. And it was like £40. Maybe £40 plus post for like 2 CTS caps, a Switchcraft switch, and an orange drop capacitor. And it was like £40. And it's like, yeah, man. It's like, you've already got the metal plate because, like, how much better can an expensive metal plate be than a cheap? It's just a piece of steel. So that, you don't need that. Switch, if it's knackered, you have to buy another one. Yes. But I mean, £2-3. Maybe it's a tenner for a Japanese switch if you really wanted to go that far. And CTS pots aren't that expensive. They're sort of expensive if you're buying one, but I mean, we're talking, if you're buying one, they're sort of £2.50-3, something like that. I think if you buy a pack of 10, they're like £1 sort of thing. They're not pure expensive. It's the same with the capacitors. If you buy one, you might be able to, but I mean, I'm not a subscriber to the. But then again, as I was thinking about this the other day, it's very different for me if I put push pots in the Fender and the Squire Jazzmaster I was doing the other day. And I was like to the guy, yeah, I was like, I can put push pots. So I've got them, but they're like £7.50 each. And he's like, that's fine. But I'm forgetting he's paying to get stuff done to the guitar. For me, it's like, how much is it costing you to upgrade this guitar? And I'd be like, you're right, I want to put a push pull pot in. It's like, that's £2.50. So the whole guitar's costing me £2.50 to coil split it. Whereas if you're paying somebody to put it in, it's already costing you £50. So an extra £5 to get the top, or an extra £2, it doesn't tie in if you're doing it yourself. And that's why I'm always using cheap stuff. Right. But yeah, I'm just buy new ones. If you want to be fancy, you can buy the big ones, the ones that are that size, and they're £1. If you're in the UK, just buy them from, is it Black Dog Music or something like that? There'll be somewhere like that will sell them, and they're always really quick with delivery, so you get them in a couple of days. I would just buy new ones. For the sake of it, you're doing up your guitar, you're putting £50 pickups in it. Even if the ones that were in it were new, that'd be fine. But the fact, they're going to be 30 or 40 years old, and they weren't good ones to start with. So, and there's not really any value to keeping the guitar original. So just ditch them and start with nicer ones. You wire it up, and it's like, oh, and then you've got a slightly crunchy volume control. Yeah. Not worth it. I was going to ask about pots. There we go. No Westone USA. Not to the same degree. I think you did get there was Westone Electra. One of the models is a Westone Electra. I'm sure of it, but I don't know how widespread that was. Knowledge and advice. Well, I'm kind of making it up. So everything I say is subject to being proved wrong. It's like I'm not. I can't deal with absolutes for this stuff. It's like, as far as I'm aware, this. But I mean, it's like, you can't. I'm just looking up rubbish on the internet, and actually, some of it's experience. It's like, I kind of knew this guitar was going to be excellent because I've got the bass version of it, and it's excellent. So the chances of having a high quality bass and then having a guitar that came out at the same time in the same range of two, and it not being high quality, were pretty low. But I mean, I don't really know. I still got a West of my life. A new West Coast thing. What's a new West Coast thing? Oh, the Monster. It's also a bigger can. There was a special offer on the 500ml can up until last week, and then there was a special offer on this one, which is actually 553ml. There's a slightly bigger can. Charlie Buttocks. Oh, sorry. I assume it's a made-up name. Stripping the finish off a cheap Chinese telly thinline copy. My advice is, don't strip the finish off a cheap Chinese telly thinline copy. Just paint over the top of it. It's a nightmare. I made the mistake years ago when I did my BC Rich Mockingbird. I'm going to take the paint off this, and it was like 3 blocks of really uninteresting wood. I'm going to take all the paint off it, and you've got to try and get a smooth finish, whereas just now you'll have a smooth finish. So just if you go over it lightly with sandpaper, just to sort of key it to make it a bit scratched up, and then just paint it. That's what you want to do. That's so much easier. Then all you have to do is a couple of coats of rattle can spray paint, a couple of coats of lacquer, bang, done. It's a silly colour. It's a bucky caster. What do you think of Harley Benton guitars? You can't argue with the price. I mean, you're picking up a guitar for £100, and it's like, fine. The tellies are good. I like the cheaper ones. It's the same with a lot of these things. I like the cheaper ones because I'm going up here. Well, what do you expect for £100 for a brand new guitar? But it's when you go up to the sort of £200 ones, you start going, yeah, no, compare that to, like, that's a really good buy compared to a Fender Custom Shop or a Squire Classic Vibe, but it's nothing like this. You know what I mean? This is like at the same price as a Fender Custom Shop, is a bit more realistic. A lot of people buy a lot of them. The thing is, I understand with the Harley Benton ones is, it's like, right, I'll buy people do it with Squires as well. I'll buy £120 Harley Benton Telecaster. Listen to it now, and it's got £300 worth of bare knuckle pickups, gold bridge, and you're just like, why didn't you just buy a better Telecaster to start with, rather than buying £100 one and then spending £300 making it a £100 guitar with £300 worth of stuff on it? Sorry, Billy. I do remember. I remember I got lost and then ended up at the Fourth Road Bridge. That's true. I didn't ask why it was red. I also probably told the story of my great grandpa. Some relative of mine used to paint it, and basically it was a year-long thing. When he came out a mail order catalogue, I think someone might have mentioned that before. Probably you. The problem is they're starting to be worth money. I remember seeing Thunders all the time for £80 and not buying them. And the reason I don't have one is because you get so many. Thunder is the common one, but I mean, it's still not common compared to other things. I mean, if you look on eBay just now, there will be half a dozen to 10. There'll be a couple. There's always going to be a few. Half of them are always going to be pure. Yeah, bargain £600. It's like just this. I don't really want to sell this, but if someone's going to give me £600, yeah. But someone's rabbit out and chewed every cable in this bed. Okay, if you've got the hang of Trojan, you're laughing. You can split any humbucker, yes, but if I had to do it with what guitar do I have to do? No, I didn't have to split it. But as I was saying there about taking the backs off the covered pickups, if you've got a covered pickup, you might have to break into it. And if I've got an uncovered pickup sitting there, I do. Yeah, so if like this pickup here, it's a Squire one, you've only got 2 wires. It's not core splittable as it is, but if you peel off this is just a bit of tape, right? This black bit. Peel that off, and you'll notice there's a wire that joins the 2 coils together. So this wire here starts at the earth wire, goes in round this coil, out that coil, into this coil, and then comes out the white wire. So you want to break into the wire that's joining the two together. So it's like you can split it into two separate wires and then join them together, or you can just like tab on one. And then what you do is when you've got the third wire, when you stick that third wire to earth, it cancels out the first coil. And if you stick it to the output, it cancels out the second coil. So that's how coil splits works. So yes, you can do it, but you might have to take the pickup to bits. And it's damn fidgety. Sometimes it's dead easy. What was the guitar I did? It was a pure dream. I think it was an old Ibanez. I took it to bits, and the wires, and I was talking about the wire I want to break into, was 2 bits of wire like that with a wee bit of insulation in the end. So I just pulled the insulation off, and there it was, perfect connection. Join the wire on, bit of tape, bang, coil splitter. This is great. Thanks so much for giving me a just pointing at me. It's great stuff to talk about the actual guitar playing. Thanks. Have you ever thought of these? A PV Rotor EXP Explorer. There's a purple one. Have you seen the purple? It's an Explorer, but it's got notches here. There's a purple one. I bought one of the guitars. I've only ever bought half a dozen guitar magazines in my life, but one of them had that in it, and this thing just looked. It was expensive. It was like 700 quid guitar, and now they're not as much as that. But it's got the most amazing binding. It's got pure thick binding with mother of pearl in it. It's like a purple flame maple veneer. It's got tuning pegs that have like holes drilled through, so there's sort of hollow buttons on the end of the tuners. I think that's a fantastic looking guitar. Is it a Rotor EXP? Yes. I think that looks fantastic. There's also one that's very similar. I think it's just called a V-type. It's a copy of the Adrian Vandenberg one, which is a similar sort of thing, but it's a bit more super stratty. Yes, I want one. I just haven't bought one yet. PV are one of those companies that just did the entire range. I suppose like a bit like Yamaha. I don't think you get bad Yamahas. I think you might. Oh, I think you get bad PV amps. I remember the wee PV 10 watt amps are particularly good, or that sort of era of amps. But I think I've never really played a guitar that was bad. I had a couple of ones. I think it's just the basic Strat copy. It's a Raptor. It's called. And yeah, right, good guitar. Same as a entry level Squire, but cheaper. They're good guitars. No, the PV Rotor's not made. It's not an American one. It'll be Korean. It'll be Samick again. But I mean, you're talking about. I'm pretty sure I've seen them for like. I think I didn't buy one. For me, I've seen the black one a couple of times, but it's the purple one because the purple one looks fantastic. I can't remember whether I was willing to pay $250 or it actually went for $250. I think I was thinking $250 max, and it was like $3. It wasn't expensive. It was expensive for me though. Oh, Billy, I've missed the start of your thing. I do know how many guitars I have. I'm not telling you though because it's embarrassing. How'd you buy your t-shirt? You can buy one straight off me. I've got them in a bucket through there. I've only got black t-shirts just now, and they're very cheap because I made a mistake when I printed them, because the ones I got done just say Mad Malcolm, they don't say guitars, so I'm just basically going to sell them for what I bought them for. And then because it was kind of my mistake, the guy showed me the guy in the Black Street shop in Glasgow showed me the things. What did I get this? I just saw, oh, you've got the font perfect, the same as these ones. That's great, and I didn't really realise it didn't say guitars on it. So they'll be cheap. Message me on Mad Malcolm Facebook page, and I'll send you them. I don't know. It's probably not worth sending them to America, but message me anyway. There's another option for that. If you're in the UK, I'll sell them for $10 or something like that. Is it worth buying a couple of brilliant? You're brilliant. Not been able to keep up with the chat. Fantastic. I'm not having to actually waste up any of my bank of things I'm going to talk about. Is it worth buying a couple of Strat switches to practice the soldering? To be honest, if you're buying them from China, it probably costs you kind of 1.5 times as much for 3 the switches. But not really. I would basically you can just practice soldering by just joining wires together. really, or just soldering onto anything you can make solder stick to. You know, like an old socket, an old plug or something. Just do that. I don't think it's worthwhile wasting the switches. Switches aren't that easy to melt. The ones that you don't want to melt are the micro switches, you know, the wee 3-way or the wee 2-way toggle switches. They melt if you hold the soldering iron on too long. Then the plastic that holds the pin melts and goes wobbly, and they don't work. I've had a few guitars that have done that recently. Actually, the same thing can happen with pots as well. You know, because if you don't put solder onto the pot first or onto the wire, and you put the wire on and you just hold it on and you try and poke solder onto it, you can just heat that up to 1 billion degrees till it's as hot as the sun, and the solder won't stick to it. It'll just turn into liquid and then just kind of flow all over the bottom of the guitar. I see that quite a lot. Yeah, Alban, my evening is pretty good. So I'm half cut already. Haven't had any dinner, so I'm getting maximum from the alcohol. T-Series 780, I know those. If you're in America, yes. There's a guy, I don't know if you've seen him on YouTube. I'd already started doing it before I saw him do it. Scott Grove, his name is. I liked him because he's pure. He kind of does it this way. It's kind of just a bit more real and live, and he's not, you know, his guitar is just picked up with a mic. It's not processed and he's not edited and all that. I liked him. He gets a lot of abuse, actually. I'd say I don't get that much abuse. I'm not as nasty as he is, though. But fair enough. You know, it's like if I don't agree with you, like on YouTube, then I'll not watch it. I'll not hit you with abuse on it. The T-Series. The only thing I've really heard about them is they are heavy, apparently. Very heavy. I've actually got a PV T-Series pickup here, which it was going to go in. What was it going to go in? It was going to go in the EB6, a PV Super Ferrite. It's not just ferrite, it's Super Ferrite. Apparently, this is the same pickup they put in the TA guitars as they put in the TA basses. So I think it's some sort of rail and below this sealed cover. So like 2 wires. It's a single coil of some sort. I just haven't yet found out. I don't know what it sounds like. It's kind of because it's a funny shape. I don't want to go cutting a hole in a guitar to take that pickup, plug it in, everything set up. I've routed out a specific hole for it, and then it doesn't sound very good. And it's like, oh, so I really have to take it out and then route the hole to take another pickup. But if you're in America, things are different. It's different things in America. You can probably get the same. I don't know how areas and stuff are over there. If you're looking at Washburns, you get some mad Washburns in America. We don't get the 85-ish range where you get like the BBRs. We get it's like black, red. So it's like black with red binding, red fret dots, red binding on the neck. That era, an awful lot more of them went to America, and you can get one called an HM something, which I've never seen over here, and Flying V's and all these models that we never got. I think whoever it was a Washburn distributor for the UK, kind of gave up in 84 or 85. So we get the Yamaki ones, the wings. We get much less of the later on ones, whereas I think in America you get much more of the later on ones. They kind of changed their 2 PV Explorers anyway, just now 295. Are they that rotor one? They're pretty good. I'm just kind of at the stage of I've kind of specialised now down to being basically early 80s Japan, trying to keep. It's like is that someone talking about buying the catalogue guitars? I know Weston, but the thing about Weston's were they weren't the cheapest guitars you could buy, but they weren't that much more than the cheapest ones you could buy. So you could buy like a probably Japanese or maybe Korean Les Paul copy for like the cheapest one you could possibly buy was £100, and it was just rubbish. Whereas you could spend like 150 was when the Westone started coming in, and you were getting a proper guitar. You know, it's like it had real pickups, and it had, you know, like tuners that actually worked, like Gotos and stuff like that. What's going on? Why have I lost my cursor? There we go. Okay. Yeah. BB Raptor. Yeah. Applied body because I do. Yeah, no, the PVs are good. I'm nearly caught up. Okay, I'm not. Something about belly cut. Belly cut. £150. No, there you go, £150. So £100 is the cheapest guitar you could buy, or £150 for a Westone Thunder. It's not the same as it is now. I'm not very good at using this stupid slidey thing. Why can't I not just scroll easily? I haven't bought it yet. The guitars are fine. Arias here, depends which one it is you're looking at. If it's that SB bass, you're in trouble. But all the other ones are cheap. You do occasionally see them. If you look on to tell your missus how much you're paying for the three-way switch, and you're all excited about it, and it's like, how much are you paying? It's like £4.50. It's like, really? You're excited about £4.50? It's like, you'd be happy with that. So play acoustic and watching some tutorials, and then I just talk nonsense. So, Billy did he? But I don't really remember seeing many Washburns. But then again, I'm probably talking about 96, 97 was probably the first time I ever went into a guitar shop. Yes, I was talking about the Japanese ones. So there seems to be a gap between about 84 and 90s. You get the Mercury series and all them. I've seen them, but you don't see the later on Japanese ones from 85 and 86, like the Flying V and stuff like that. Didn't a guy in Glasgow import guitars? I think his name was Jimmy Grant. Yes, he did. And he imported some fantastic ones. These, I think he was a little bit of a Jack the Lad. I think he was buying, I've had a few of the Les Pauls. The hardware on them's atrocious. I think when you're buying guitars from the shop, the factory, you got the options up here. Here's the Les Paul standard, just up here. And what level of hardware would you like on it? You can have like the Gotoh stuff, or you can have the medium stuff. And Jimmy Grant's going, how cheap can you make it? So the tuners are pretty bad. The bridge is plastic. The pickups are single coils hidden behind covers, but they're still decent guitars. But these, which I've actually got 3 and my pal Wayne's got 2. These are what I think is some sort of run of guitar that failed, and Jimmy Grant has bought them. He's bought a pallet of them and got them badged Grant. Fantastic guitar, very similar to this one actually. Looking at it. But yes, my pal runs a website, a Facebook site, Grant Guitars, made in Scotland, made in Japan, sold in Scotland. Have a look at that. Washburn in the 90s. And you have one. Yeah, I've got 3 Grants just now. I've had an SG with a Bixby on it, and I've had a couple of Les Pauls. Kawai, there's a guitar that was for sale on maybe about 2 or 3 years ago on a Facebook Marketplace, and the guy changed his mind selling it. It was a Kawai Aquarius, and it looked mad. I wanted that. I don't know. I think I might have started skipping. I'll just be caught up. I just need to have a wee skip up, make sure I'm not missing anyone. If I did miss you, I'm sorry. I also want to mention that we didn't. Sometimes I get messages. See when you put messages in my YouTube comments. Sometimes I get a message and I can see the first few lines. It says, "Hi Malco, do you have?" or "Hi Malco, what about?" And then ... And then when I click on it, it's just not there. Like maybe 1 in 5 messages, it's just not there at all. And then other ones, I was looking through them. I should really do a weekly roundup when I look through it. I don't get a message for it. I don't get a notification saying it's there, but I can see it if I actually go and hunt for it. And it's like I've got billions of videos, so it's like I can't check them all. So I'm sorry if I don't reply. It might be because I think you're a dick, but I don't think it is. 99.9% of the chance it's because I've not seen it. Single coil is my favourite. I'm in the... See, for me it was always humbuckers, but I think now maybe I'm getting old. Or maybe it's getting the Strat thing. I always sort of liked Strats. I didn't always like Tellies. Always liked SGs. When I bought my SG, that was a guitar I wanted. And then my pal in the band Peg had a Telecaster, and it looked really cool. It was a sort of midnight blue purple colour. And I had a shot of it. I was like, horrible. Oh, and then one night we were having a jam or something, I was stuck with it. And after 5 minutes, I'm like, I understand Telecasters. I understand it. And the same with Strats. I remember getting a shot of a Strat and I absolutely hated it. It was an expensive Strat. It was like a £600. My pal Andy had bought a Japanese Fender Strat and I just hated it. And then gradually started getting, no, I can kind of appreciate Strats a little bit. And then I got a Fender Bullet guitar, which is kind of like a Strat, but a wee bit slightly different shape. And it really suddenly all made sense to me. And then now, even though I had Strats previously, I now really like Strats. So, yeah, it kind of depends what it is you're doing. I like, this is maybe one of my favourite layouts. Just two humbuckers, nice and simple, but it's a split. So I've now got Geosonic. So I've got like the neck pickup and the bridge pickup as single coils. And when you're in the middle, you get the two of them together. So you get like I think better than positions 2 and 4 in a Strat is the middle position on a Geosonic type thing. Aquarius bass, I hate you. I'd like it. I'd love a. I think is it the Aquarius I'm thinking of? It's kind of wider at the bottom, I think. Was it? Oh, hold on. Am I thinking of? What are we talking about? Was that the? Did you say? Was it Quest? What's a Quest Attack? It's another one of these funny ones. It's kind of around about the same time. I don't really know it. I've never seen more than one of them, so I don't really know that much. Grant did have some shops. I think he was big on selling a few folk. They had one in Byres Road in Glasgow. I think there was one in Dundee, and there was one in Edinburgh. And he was a Westtone. A lot of people bought Westtone Thunders off him, and that's how I got a date with this guitar. Because somebody said, "Oh, I remember them hanging up in Grant's." And I was like, "That when I bought my Westtone Thunder." I was like, don't suppose you remember when that was? He was like, "Yeah, it was just when I left school, so it was 1985. Therefore, this guitar is 1985 because there's not very many of them. There's no sign of any serial number. There's nothing like it. So that's how I got my date of 1985 because he remembers seeing them. Because he said, yeah, there was a blue one as well, and I've seen a blue bass once, but not for sale. So it's definitely the right guitar. Silver, blue, and red. You can get them in, and with 1 or 2 pickups and in a bass. And he might have had shops all over. Thingy. You need to get yourself humbuckers of some sort. You can pick up a decent guitar. Look for. What's a good humbucker guitar? I don't know. See the cheap Yamaha. If you fancy doing a wee bit of messing about, the Yamaha ERG 121, you see them all the time for. Like the most ever really pays like 80 quid. They've got a humbucker in them. Really good. Really good. Early 80s Fender Bullet. Yeah, they're not cheap, but I got one cheap. Not cheap, but cheaper than it should have been. I bought it because it was cheap because the pickup selector switch didn't work, and I thought, I can fix that. And then when I went into the guy's house and sat down and put my hand in the neck, it was like, I've got to keep this, don't I? That was kind of like my dawn on kind of getting the hang of Strats a little bit. Since then, I've noticed that other necks I've got are just as good, if not better, but for some reason that one, because it was a surprise maybe. First proper guitar. 79 Strat. I bet it's I was going to say, I bet it's heavy. Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, some people hate on them. It's one of those things that somebody maybe had one that needed set up. You know, one that maybe the neck was out years ago, and then it happened to a few folk, and then it goes on a forum, and it's like, everything Mad Malco says is 100% correct. Therefore, I think this as well. I don't think anyone believes what I say, but do you know what I mean? It's like, it depends what you're comparing it to. And then you get somebody who's like, oh no, the 79 Strat's awful. And it's like, I much prefer my 1954 Strat. And you're like, yeah, okay, I'll give you that a 1954 one's probably better than a 1979 one, but it cost £50,000, not whatever a 79 one's called. Quest is cheap Vantage. Is it? Right, so it's the same. Well, Vantage were kind of funny. Vantage were Matsumoto, then they were Chushin, and then they were Korea. Yeah. Bet you have an Android phone. How do you know that? Did it beep? I've got an old. If anyone wants to donate me a phone that isn't 15 years old, please do. That'll be great. I'll give you a free T-shirt for it. just one that's like only 5 years old would be smashing. Yamaha SG from the 80s. Is that? This is like some sort of challenge. Do you want to have a guess and see what else is in? There's only 4 guitars in this rack, right? And I say so far you've picked the Grant and Yamaha SG from 1982, 3, I can't remember. Yeah, it's been stripped, but I got that in my last Trade Tuesday thing, and I traded it for a vintage Les Paul, and it wasn't meant. It's kind of, when I got the offer, it was actually somebody I know offered it, and it was just like, oh, that's the end of Trade Tuesday, isn't it? Kind of always wanted a Yamaha SG. It's like, yeah, big second-hand toe cross. I'm not sure if I'm all right. And that's in Edinburgh. I think there's a toe cross here, toe booth. Heavy does sound good. It does. The thing is, it's like, if you're doing what I'm doing, which is, I'm okay, I'm standing holding the guitar for half an hour doing videos, but if you're just playing in the house, yeah, it doesn't really make any difference. What it does make a bit of a difference is we do a 2-hour gig, because I did the only 2-hour gig I've done in the last 10 years was with the Black Sabbath band, and I took my Washburn Scavenger, which weighs more than the double neck, which isn't on the wall there anymore, but it's a bass and a guitar, and it weighs less than the Washburn Scavenger. And yes, it gets damn heavy, and it's got like a strap about that thick on it, but this thing's made of lead. So I can sort of understand it. Heavy does sound good. Well, I don't know. It's like, how do you define? Because I mean, I've got some really light guitars that sound really light and airy, but do they actually sound really light and airy? Is that because I'm sitting there going, oh, it feels light and airy, therefore it's sounding that way? Because this is quite a heavy guitar, but it's got quite a powerful sound to it. I don't know, the thing about the Vantage cheap line was Quest. It's not really anymore, because nobody knows what these things are. So you're looking at Vantages coming in at the same sort of price. You know, you're talking less than a Squire now for a Vantage, really. I sold it was a Korean one for 156 quid on Sunday. That was why I got this for 156 quid as well. Kind of a bit spooky. So I think maybe the planets aligned and I was made to have this guitar. Just got to find it. Yamaha SG. Yeah, I mean, that's the basic one. It's a 200. But the thing about that is, though, I like the idea of getting, I mean, okay, is the 2000 a better guitar? Probably, but it's much more expensive because it's got binding, much fancier top on it. You know, I don't know if it's got the same pickups or not. You're still buying some of the same things. Like those pickups, when I bought that, it had Warman pickups in it. And I was like sitting there, it looked like a modern guitar. And I looked at it, I was like, oh, it's a pity you don't have the pickup. I need to see if I can source pickups for it. And the guy's like, oh, I've got pickups. I've got the original ones, you can have them. They're the horrible yellowed ones. I was like, oh, use them. So he gave me them, and I got back, and I was like, sitting there, I put the old pickups in, it looks great. I'm now going to try and have to find the knobs. And he messaged me back, and I was like, you're all right, I've got the knobs. Do you want to swap them for the Warman pickups? And I was like, yes. Because I wanted the original knobs, and the Warmans were fantastic and probably worth more than the knobs, but at least I didn't have to find them. Yeah, no, Yamaha SGs are. The thing that gets me down a bit is they're not super pretty. The shape. There's a Hondo that looks very much. In fact, the Hondo I was saying it was a double cut Les Paul is basically a copy of a Yamaha SG. But I mean, it's Yamaha are just fantastic. A Vantage Super Witch. I know the Vantage Super Witch. There's also is there a Ghost as well? Yeah, fantastic. I do like the Vantages. The Super Witch is a Super Witch. I think kind of looks a bit. It's kind of not entirely super. It's basically this, isn't it? Apart from it's symmetrical, really, because it's 80s and it's Aria Pro, so it kind of shares an awful lot of things with it, I think, if I've got the right guitar. But I love the pickups in that. The Yamaha SG are fantastic. I'm glad I got them. I'm really over the moon. The shop notes went down from the Kings, Edinburghers out there. Yeah, so we're having a go. I've had other things lined up, but I've not done them. What's in the bag? So things that I were thinking were a bit similar to this guitar, but I decided that they were different enough. Which one this is? Right, this is the tunes we were talking about. Oh, what guitars are your favourites? This one really does everything for me. It's fantastic. This is a Vantage Avenger. Back when some names had some bands, some guitars had good names. Avenger. Of course, I want a Vantage Avenger. You don't want a Vantage PP24. You know what I mean? It's like, what, the Avenger? But this is quite a rare one. I saw another one actually a couple of weeks ago that had a scratch plate, but it was in this colour. So this is definitely a factory colour. The most amazing sparkle purple you've ever seen. I got this in trade for, I think it was a cheapy Strat. I'd put lots of switches in. I'd kind of done it up. It was like, up here I've got this horrible old 80s thing. It was pure manky. And I dug it up and I just love this. The pickups in it are fantastic. Whatever they are. Solid brass bridge. Brass nut. Maple neck. It's not a one-piece maple neck. I'd like a one-piece, but there you go. But this guitar, and it's got push pulls. It's got those knurled knobs I was talking about. Push pulls with a three-way switch. In many ways, my ultimate guitar. And still in tune, even though I've not played it in a year. And the Alexa strings are great. So I was thinking this one is very similar to this one, isn't it? There's not much in it. Okay, this is 6-a-side. It's got a maple fingerboard. So also this one's hardtail. This has got a trem. So I'm just justifying to myself why I've got these things. To be honest, the two volumes and two tones, I'm happy with just one volume, one tone. That's fine. But in saying that, because this has got two tones, it's got a push pull for each pickup, so you can have like a single coil on the bridge, a humbucker in the neck, vice versa. So I would say that this is a different guitar from this. There's definite similarities, but it's different enough for me. But this is one of my favourite, and it's one of those ones that you don't know until you play it. Yeah, classic. It's a classic Vantage. My pal Ronnie got one. He was up last night. He's like, "You're going to hate me," and he paid 50 quid for it. Like, what? It's basically this model, apart from it's a sort of light varnish colour. It kind of looks a bit worn and it's not as good as this one. This one's purple sparkle flake, but apart from that, it's basically the same guitar. And it's just, I was just saying, you're not going to want to sell that ever. You're going to have to stick with that. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And it's like, you've not played it yet, have you? And he's like, no. And it's just absolutely rock solid. Reminds me very much of this one. This one reminds me very much of it. Fun. You can pick up a Vantage Avenger fairly cheap, yeah. I swapped this for something, but I think you can probably pick up 200, 250, something like that, maybe. I think one like this might be, this is the sort of thing I can see being in reverb for like more than that though, because it's quite extreme. I can see like a David Bowie fan, or a guy who's in a band playing glam rock's going to go, oh, purple sparkle flake. That's fantastic. Yeah. So that was one of my what's in the bag. The Pammy bar is in the post because I've already ordered it. But that one doesn't have one. Have I missed anything? Stop zooming in instead. I'm having issues with zooming in instead of scrolling. Ever heard of B-benders? Yes. I actually saw a thing my pal Michael sent me the other day, and the guy had done a full set. So he had like pedal steel things. I think it was maybe three of the strings he bent, not just the B. So basically that's what a pedal steel does when you kind of go, it makes a pedal steel sound when you kind of bend. It's the B. The B, you must lower it down to a note lower so you get that sort of thing. Yes, but no, I've never played one, but I'm aware of what they are, but I don't really know how to use them. I think it's maybe more for open tuning and slide. That's where it's going to come in, and I can't really play slides, and I can't do open tuning, so kind of lost it a little bit. I go for my second. I've been on for an hour and 25. I've not really drank that much Bucky, but I'm feeling quite lightheaded. I go for another one, and it's like, I was thinking about this last night. This guitar was in the attic, and I was thinking about it, and it was like, I genuinely couldn't put any money on it. Slade and Prince. All right, Benji's in the strap. It's like basically the B bender. What it does is it's just like if you imagine a thing here that pulls the string or loosens it. I'm not sure which way, whether it goes up or down, but yeah, and it's like if you see the routing for it, it's like this, and it goes to the strap button, so you can kind of, when you push down on the guitar, it bends this lever, which is literally running inside the guitar like this, down round a sort of cog thing here, and then it just pulls the string. It must pull it if you have to push down on it, so you can kind of go like that kind of thing. Quite funny. Glenn Tipton uses Advantage. Is Glenn Tipton's Judas Priest? Does he? Really? You shouldn't say bender. I'm not on a bender. I've not had a drink since last Sunday. Slade and Prince. Yeah, but okay. So, what's in the second bag? This is the other one that I thought is very similar to this. I'm actually wondering if it's the same guitar, or bits of it the same guitar. And is it a rosewood or is it a maple neck? And I can't remember. Even though it wasn't that long ago, I put pickups in it. I think it's rosewood. It's maple. Damn it. Yeah. So this is an Aria Thor sound. Don't know the number because it probably might have said it on the truss rod cover. But again, this is 1982. This one, I think the Avenger was 83, wasn't it? 82 as well. So these are both the same year. Different. I think they're both Matsumoku as well. Well, the jury's out. Is it Matsumoku? Don't know. But this one is. And this one, I think, has exactly the same neck as this one. Like, I think it's the same profile. It's the same headstock shape. This one's had the tuners changed because apparently the ones that were on it were terrible. So these are probably upgraded. They're sort of the same, aren't they? No, I wouldn't argue exactly the same. This is got the chamfers on it. This one to me, this is my Black Sabbath guitar actually because I put P90s in it and I used to have 2 single coils, and I really like this guitar as well. I got this for buttons when I was buying another guitar off somebody. The 2 single coils were all right, but when I got getting back onto the trying to justify buying guitars for myself. I bought this because, it's got 2 single coils. I don't have a guitar that's got 2 single coils. Oh, but you've got Strats. No, they've got 3 single coils, even if you can operate them with a Gilmore switch. But I'm trying to get myself through this, and then that one didn't stay in tune. Yeah, so I had that, and then I got a set of G&L pickups. I was actually talking about this earlier on today in a video that I was doing earlier on, which you'll see tomorrow. And I got the G&L, and the guy Ian wanted noiseless pickups, so he put stacked ones in it, and he's like, you can just have the old ones. I was like, you need to find a guitar for them. And then I got that Fender Bullet I was talking about, and it's got 2, it's kind of got 4 single coils, but if you imagine it's just 2 single coils that are back to back and below the cover. So it's kind of my Duosonic. So my Duosonic was that one. How did I do that? So my TV's hit. Okay. So how did I turn the TV off? I don't have a remote control for the TV I'm watching this on. I've got my computer there, which is just turned off as well. But yeah, that's because I've been on too long. It's an hour and a half. Probably started dying it up now, but I mean, I'll just see how pissed I get. Purple guitar, Slade and Prince. Okay, that's fair enough. I do like Slade. I've never really heard anything by Prince. I keep hearing everyone growing about how amazing Purple Rain is. I don't really hear it. I don't get it. Maybe I haven't listened to it for years. Matsumoto till 85. Vantage for Matsumoto till 85. I don't think you're quite right. I'll put some thing against that because I have a Vantage. I'm not sure it's called an Avenger. It's the BBR. It's like black. It's got red piping around the scratch plate and red numbers on the knobs, but the whole thing is jet black, and it's a Tushin because it's got a different serial number system from that, and it feels like a Tushin, and it's 84. I'm sure. Or maybe they made them both at the same time. I think the ones that kind of look like Washburn Wings, the sort of, I think they're all Matsumoto, but I'm not sure about the Avengers. But nobody knows these things. They don't fit in. Can you put a link to the Facebook page? I will. Yes. I'll. I don't know. It's basically just Mad Malco guitars. If I knew how to link it in just now, I'll stick it in the chat once it's finished, right? I'll remember to do that. Play some Black Sabbath. What, ending a song? Yeah. Yeah, so that's an hour and a half. I mean, I could talk all night, but I kind of don't want to. I'll start forgetting stuff. Too drunk. Using the first pedal. Nice thing. Little Budgie Good Boys, 100 subs. That was well done. That's amazing. That was so. See, when I remember when I hit 400 subs, I was in China and I was like, ah! And then when it came down to 1,000, it was amazing. It's like, again, Portugal, explain if an 80s scavenger is Yamaki. No, they're not, apparently. But there's, in the last couple of weeks, we might have found out something else. They might have been made by Dyna. Dyna made that Ibanez Blazer. They were subcontracted out. We're not sure, but it's a funny one. Don't really know enough about them. Yeah, it's dead easy. I do know Dragon Force. Actually saw them live. In fact, I've actually got an Ibanez Destroyer DT 250, 350. Signed by all of Dragon Force apart from the bass player, because the bass player wasn't standing outside eating a kebab with me after the gig at Glasgow. And when he came out to play in the Fire and Flames, the whole band came out playing. Was it that one? The acoustics. I think they sort of did a jokey acoustic version of it. They had acoustics and stands. I think at first they came out and it was like Herman was playing the drums and Sam was playing the keyboards and the drummer was trying to play the guitar. It was awful, but it was obviously a sort of joke, and then they all went back off and then all came back on again and did an acoustic intro to it, and then they played it. Yeah. Oh, Caravan Number. That's I used to be able to play it. I wish I could play more Caravan the guitar. I played the bass in the Caravan band I was in, so I could play bass lines for Turnaround. Then it goes into chords, I don't know it. I can only really play the best. Yeah, so that was my favourite venue ever. My favourite venue ever was the ABC in Glasgow, because it was kind of on a hill going down onto Circuit Off Street, and the back door, they didn't have a back door, so whoever it was the band was, after the band finished, you hung about, and it wasn't like you're hanging about in a dodgy area, you're hanging about on Circuit Off Street. So you go across the road, get a kebab or whatever it was, or a pakora, hang about for half an hour, and then the band would have to come out and load all their stuff into the tour bus, so you get to meet all of them. And I've got my rock jacket signed by Saxon, Dragon Force, Europe, Winger, a few bands just by, and that's that thing about just hanging about outside, and Tucky Hill Street. It was quite good. kind of like, oh, I might have maybe should live stream it. My pal Ali, the drummer in my band Cranking House, you might have seen a video of me. Don't know if I've ever put it up. He's got like a barn attached to his house. I think it used to be stables, and he's got it as a sort of man cave, and it's basically a full-on gym. I think he got lots of gym equipment free because nobody had room for it. It's got like a full-on gym, and then it's got his drum kit and a PA and all that. So he's having a party at the end of July, I think, or the end of June, and then we're going to play, and he's going to have 3 bands on, and all get pure hammered. He's the drummer's in a punk band, and he's in Cranking House, and so we're going to have the punk band and Cranking House with me on guitar, and then invited after the end. So they'll be on as well, and I'll be playing bass. So I've got like kind of 2 gigs in the one night, just getting pure slamming drunk at like a mad barn thing. I was thinking it'd be cool to video. I was thinking I might actually stream it. Might be quite funny. Yeah. I'm going to stop now. Just I've done my hour and a half. But yes, I do know some Saxon, not very much. All together, cause you set the spirit free. I know. But it was Sabbath, right? And I was going to say we're funny, we're actually just coming into. We're going to try and do when we get back with the Sabbath band, but I can probably play the riff. But the reason I said I hated it was because I can't sing it. It's too late. That's it. I can't sing it. So annoying. Never surrender, yeah, it's like, never surrender with your backs again. That might not be that song. So if I do one of them, I must be able to get a Sabbath song that I can play all the way through. I played Never Say Die recently, didn't I? I don't want to play one of the ones we played after the end because it'll make it sound like we're really bad, and it's not. I'm drunk. I'm the bass player. So if I do play one that's kind of. I'll cut it down a lot. Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches act like masses. Evil minded plot destruction, sorcerers of death's construction. Oh Lord, time will tell of the empowered minds. Till judgment day comes, to people just like pawns and chess. Till the victory comes, yeah. Time will tell on their empowered minds. Just for fun. say once again, it's not the last time. Yeah. I don't really know much further than that. But that was why once I could play that, that's when I bought my Gibson SG. Yeah, so that's me giving up. Waiting for this boxing this morning. That was last night. It was yesterday. But it's still new, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm not sure how much of it's the placebo effect with this pickup, the V2, which I kind of wanted for years anyway, just from having heard of it, never having heard it, and how much is just. It's kind of. It's a really unpretentious guitar. I think it's kind of a bit subdued. It's not really anything special, but it is. All the money in this guitar has been spent on making it a pure amazing guitar. None of it's been spent on fancy extra stuff. It does have dots, but they're functional. You know, it's like you compare this to all the guitars, you know, you get they've got all the binding stuff like that. You know. That compressor pedal, is it? I've moved it on to by the Badger. I'm sorry, Daniel, I'll have to leave the Badger till next week. But I'll look at it. It'll go on the wall. I forgot to mention the monolith as well. And I forgot to mention that I've actually changed I've painted the scratch plate on the B6. That compressor. Is the compressor phasey thing still kicking, or was it when I was playing the guitar? I don't know, because I'm definitely using the correct mic this time, but it might be something. I don't have PayPal donations or anything like that. I should set it up. I don't even like asking for, because I kind of do this for fun. I kind of need the money, but I don't. I enjoy doing it. And it feels strange. I don't even really ever say like and subscribe. I did write it on a poster and stuck it on the wall, so I didn't have to say it. I was talking to you earlier on, Mr. The one who knocks Mr. White, Mr. Arbiter Flying V Man, I think. Hey, Bobby Jojo, you sound Bobby Jojo. Like my pal Bob. That your volume corrected itself after a long time. Yeah, I don't really know. I think I'm kind of struggling with the two. Obviously, to get a perfect sound, you need to have a mic on the amp and a mic with me talking into it. But my whole reason I started doing YouTube videos was because I was getting annoyed with people who had, let's listen to this 10-watt amp and they had a mic placed up against it that's going through lots of computery stuff. So I kind of want to keep it as real as possible, man. You know. My drummer, yes. Moore, his name's Moore. I'm going to move the loop pedal. No, not the loop pedal. The loop pedal's fine. I'm going to move the drum pedal because that wee Laney there is playing the drums and the guitar with the valves, and I really feel that why don't I put the drummer pedal into the other side of the stereo loop pedal that runs through the bass amp, which will probably give me a better, more PA type sound for the drums. Plus, also, I mean that wee amp is going to compress at the right rate for the guitar without having a drum pedal blasting through it. I just haven't done it yet. Thanks. As the only reason I can sing Sabbath is because I know it so well. I used to be able to sing Child in Time. Do you believe that? The bit it goes, ah! I used to be able to do that when I was like 20. And then, can't do it. Yeah. Right, so thanks everyone for joining in. It's great. I'm really loving doing this. Kind of gone over my hour again a little bit, but hey. If anyone does want a t-shirt, hit me up at Mad Marco Guitars at Facebook. I'll work out some way. I'll put it in the link for the description of the video when it goes up live. Sorted. If you want a t-shirt, tenner delivered if you're in the UK. So again, thanks very much. Got some interesting stuff going up this week. I'm going to see my pal I was talking about earlier, the drummer. He's got an Epiphone Valve Junior head and a 4x12 cabinet that I gave him that I'm going to go down and use it as an excuse. I've got a guitar to drop off tomorrow anyway, that Jazzmaster. And then I'm going to go down and see him, and I might get a couple of songs, and instead I might have, rather than having the drum pedal, I might have an actual drummer. It means I can't have a loop though, so it'll have to be a bit freeform jazzy. Might be quite interesting. I'm kind of tempted to take down the stereo EB6 so I can have like the neck pickup going through the bass amp, and then the bridge pickup going to a fuzz pedal going to the guitar amp with a drummer, play some Sabbath. Could be interesting. Oh, enjoy your bath, Jeff, and thanks everyone. Catch you later. And I will definitely have the Badger out next week. It sounds quite rude, doesn't it? And I maybe play Take It Easy, although I did try and play Take It Easy one time when I was demoing one of the acoustics, and I got a copyright strike and I wasn't allowed to put the video up. Whereas normally I can play whatever I want, and it's obviously not good enough to actually hit copyright strikes. Take It Easy was. So there you go. Rock on, end stream. Now we'll end. Catch you later, man. Love you all.